The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. This is yet another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, I hope you had a very wonderful weekend. As usual, I'm your regular host, George Jagba is my name. And of course, with me here in the studio are our in-house analysts. Of course, we have Silas Ezegu. Welcome. And of course, we have the political analyst here, Chibuzo Kaibe.
Thank you.
Well, together we'll be taking you on the big issue of the day, which is Atiku's emergence as PDP presidential candidate and permutations for the 2023 general election. And of course, the permutations for the 2023 presidential election were being reshaped at the weekend following the emergence of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as the presidential flag bearer of the opposition People's Democratic Party. And of course, this indeed, according to pundits, has reshaped the outlook for the 2023 presidential poll, with most political watchers saying it will be a difficult task for the governing All Progressive Congress. And of course, the issue at stake now for the governing party is who will be fit enough to confront Atiku at the presidential poll in 2023. After a fierce contest for the ticket of the PDP, Atiku on Saturday night emerged the presidential candidate of PDP. Atiku polled 371 to beat his fellow contenders, especially his closest contender, Rivers State Governor Wike, who scored 237, followed by Bukola Saraki, former Senate President, who scored 70. And of course, that has changed the tide. And of course, the reactions had been positive and negative. The South groups and the Middle Belt had kicked against Atiku's emergence. The anger is that PDP has gone against the gentleman agreement of zoning. Chibuzo, the story, everything is just there in the public glare now. What is the issue at stake here now is Atiku, again, is the PDP presidential candidate. And this has thrown a huge burden on the APC, which is yet to actually do his presidential primaries. And it has fixed it for Monday. And you know, it had been like a hide and seek and a mind game where the PDP had to drag its presidential primary. And most Nigerians believe that they were just waiting to see what the opposition PDP will come up. And you see how INEC will just give in to the pressure to adjust the timetable to shift the presidential primary. All this happened over the weekend. Then, what do you think about Atiku's emergence now, PDP, in North now, against the backdrop of the protest and the negative reactions from the South and the Middle Belt?
Okay. Where do I begin? I think all of the politics has built up to this point. The party has, that's the main opposition party, has finally done its presidential primaries, and as widely speculated, even before now, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has emerged its candidate for the second time in 4 years. It was the 2019 guy, and now he has emerged again. It was not so surprising for some pundits who considered that he was going to mop up most of the votes, particularly in the Northwest, where you have only one aspirant That's, I mean, was it Tambo?
Zamboa.
It was speculated widely. Well, the permutation was that we're going to mop up most of those states who have no PDP governors, because most of the party leaders in those states were people who formed the party with. It was part of their, was in their class. Most of the time PDP was formed, and then he was going to naturally mop up some votes too in the northwest, in the northeast.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter. The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter. The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Welcome back to the big issue in Leadership Podcast. And of course, the big issue for the day is still Atiku's emergence as PDP presidential candidate and permutations for 2023. But first of all, let's apologize for that break in transmission. It is due to some unforeseen technical hitches beyond our control. Well, back to what we were saying, Silas. You heard what Chibuzo said. Chibuzo said, on Atiku's emergence anyway, and the idea here is that there is serious agitation against PDP's decision to fill in a northerner. And of course, PDP want to claim that it was a contest, an open contest, blah, 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 blah. But from before, in that contest, from what we are hearing now, what paved way for Atiku was that, number one, the Tamboa stepping down have swayed northwest, especially Sokoto delegate vote for Atiku. And before the primaries, General Guzo and some nothing but met where they called Tamboa and said, you must step down for Atiku. They had to speak, and where they had to send messages to northern delegates. These are enough to show you that the North was bent on making sure that. And Wike, he came second.
No, I would say for Wiki. We were not a foreman. I understand that.
No, when you say poor, it's not
I
as in
know,
poverty
I
in
know,
this
not
case.
about money,
We're
but-
talking in this kind of
No,
situation.
see,
A helpless
Wike
situation
ran
for
for
Wike.
coalition. I know, I know what I'm saying. It's not as if I know understand what I'm saying, but I wouldn't even Wike's candidate was always going to be TBC because the kind of character he is. See, it's even because of the kind of person Wike is that these guys
We're able to even have
no, we cannot allow this person to become president. But somebody said if they give him the person, he will run amok.
Can we have
The one already has now.
erratic character?
Yeah, the power he has now is already running his head. You give him national power, so he can run away. With his head. So it is this idea of Wike that forced even those who are not Atiku allies in the past.
We're not really articulated.
To gather and say no, let us give it to a safer hand.
A safer hand.
Whatever you say about Atiku, is always a calm, calculated person. It's not somebody who is given to rambunctious talking and behavior, or to his political life that is one I know. But just can't interview to Wike. The way he comes out like somebody that was raised in a motor park couch. So he doesn't call that position prestige. Yeah. And that's why people now, walk around to make sure he didn't get that ticket.
Character-wise, he lacks the credentials, giving him the quality to be a leader.
So that was actually what worked in Wike's
Mm.
Atiku's favor. And also, you cannot remove the fact that Atiku has been on ground. It's 1992 has run for president. Last time he nearly was bad. There are some people still believe strongly that he won 2019 election, if not because he ran against incumbent and they manipulated the system. Some high people are still saying he won it. Finally, they say they don't have a server. All those stories, So, but this time I think he won this one first. If you talk about even the thing that finally went around during the election, all of them were guilty of sharing. Okay, but you need to have somebody who has the political nose and the clout. I mean, we didn't have that kind of clout. The only thing he had the power of the purse string. But to prove whether he has one or not, because of his political weight, his political capital over the years. In fact, many people didn't even know that Wike will ever run for president. See, diving into the presidential race, we were like, okay, well, I think I'm positioned now. I can go for it. Have the money and vote for the party, you can go for it. But looking 6 years back, we don't look at we can run for president. Yeah. So those what is play. But on the question of people who are complaining about Zone and Co. Well, that's what happened in the election. There will be anger in the south. Um, but certain people didn't play the game well. They have spoken. It behoved on the governors to to come together and come as a group, give up their own, make a sacrifice for the region. They were not ready to do that. And if they had, they're pursuing the ambition of our shadows, whatever else they're thinking about. Otherwise, if they had a compelling argument like, okay, look, let's throw this power to the southeast in the spirit of fairness, equity, and justice. In that kind of argument, it would have been difficult for the North to come and say we want to steal it from there. But when the North sees that the field is filled with all kinds of people from south, east, and south, there's no longer equity and justice in this matter. Let them go for it. And that's what the people caused by throwing it open. And when he made the truth open, he knew it was down in the North. Because look at the delegate list. About 75 or so percent is from the North. The delegate list. The whole of South only has 100 votes. The whole of South East only has 100 votes. I think some states will have almost 100 votes around some states. So it doesn't it's not that hard. The thing that the election I took as one is up to the PDP now to put the house in order if he wants to retain power.
Thank you very much, Silas. And Chibuzo, if you heard them, Silas, is up to the APC. The event where APC decides to go southward, how would you look at the situation? Because the issue of zoning now is the issue at stake, where stakeholders from the south, middle belt, are angry that PDP failed to respect the gentleman agreement. And Silas has just really capped it all right. It's up to the APC now. In the event where we see the APC fielding a southerner, and then it now becomes that normal north-south party. That kind of scenario. What are your permutations?
Yeah, an interesting scenario to watch out for. First of all, has the southerner defeated the northerner before? Yes. So it's not strange to see that happen. You might say, okay, it happened on the basis of incumbency. In this time, in this dispensation, it happened at the level of incumbency, maybe. But again, like Mr. Silas was, it happened before. When Abiola defeated Tofa, even in his backyard.
Doing his word.
So it is.
That was even too far back, because in 2011, where Jonathan defeated.
Exactly. It might not be out of place or it will be strange if you go into this and then you see another. But again, it also depends on who the southerner is. You cannot compare the clout of Abiola at the time. Abiola was in his prime. He had built a lot of goodwill, network
across the country.
So he was a brand in himself. Jonathan, yes, he rode on the popularity wave of an oppressed, in that sense.
Yeah. An
Yeah,
oppressed minority.
Yes.
And they don't want Jonathan to come.
So there was something he had to ride on. And then again, there's another thing that worked for him. Most of the northern governors, PDP had a lot of northern governors at the time. And you know how influential governors can be when it comes to the elections. They were people who were in their second term. So they felt, okay, allow this man to do this. That was
what really gave them to
that was the thing. So they supported Jonathan. And if you can remember vividly, after that election, there were protests in the north because they felt, Jonathan was not supposed to win. But these governors, stood by him, ensured he got the victory. Unfortunately, Jonathan, the whole concept of the one-term thing, it didn't play out as it was supposed to play out, and then had all of the issues that played out. So it depends on who the APC is going to present. If they're going south, if they present a name that is not big, that is not heavy, that is not massive, it might be a problem because that candidate will be running on the back of an administration whose popularity has dipped terribly. So it will be interesting to see how that kind of candidate will market one himself and then carry the burden of this administration while going around campaigning. Atiku already has, well, he brags about it, and his supporters do so too. Uh, a bank of votes waiting for him, and those were the things. Yeah, Buhari campaigned on to in 2014 or 2015.
15 years.
Bank of votes. Atiku has that now. He also boasts of some good bank of votes. Yeah, Buhari has cried over time about how he was denied the position wrongly, electoral malpractice and all of that. That kind of sympathy. Atiku is now going to enjoy that kind of thing too, because we saw what happened in 2019. So there's so much going on. Then an added advantage Atiku seems to have is his cosmopolitan approach to, his politics. Unlike Buhari, Atiku is much more cosmopolitan. He has a wide network of friends. So in that sense, you can marry him with an Abiola kind of politics. And of course, they all come from the same political background.
Dynasty.
So it will be really, really interesting to see how APC plays this one. There's a Tinubu there. Tinubu also comes from that political dynasty as well, the SDP enclave. He has a big name. He has a massive personality. He has a massive war chest also. But whether or not the party is going to allow him express himself and be is a different matter altogether. Because he has also alluded to a conspiracy to shut him out of this. Would it be the best option they have? Perhaps time will tell. There's an Oshibajo in there too, but Oshibajo does not have the kind of political structure. He might have the presence. He might, of course, as vice president, he has been afforded a couple of privileges, presidential privileges, travel, meeting people, having access to a lot of people, all of that. Perhaps he has the president's goodwill to deal with, but he does not have the kind of political structure and
clout that Tinubu would have.
One thing working for Tinubu and Atiku is decades. They've been able to build decades of political ties. These things don't happen overnight. And we saw that play out even in the PDP primaries. Wiki had all the money to throw. Atiku, yes, of course, he has a war chest, but when it came down to the wire, it was about good old ties. Atiku was a founding member, one of the founding fathers of the PDP. Most of the party leaders in the party today are still people he was in the trenches together with. So those old ties will come up and play a role one way or another. I'm not saying money might not, but those are old ties that will come to bear when it matters most. So it will be really, really interesting to see how all of this plays.
Finally, Silas, because time is no more on our side. Let's look at this thing. What Chibuzo said now. Chibuzo made comparison.
Oh, sorry. There's another name. I'm so sorry to cut you short on that. There's another name, Ogbonnayonu, who might be the question as well. Now, and Ogbonnayonu has you can say yes, he has a huge political network and network. He might not have a large war chest, but being a presidential candidate of a party as far back as 1999 doesn't come easy. It shows that this is somebody who has been able to build his roots and establish himself as a political person of trust. So
and another advantage is that he's even from the southeast.
Exactly.
A zone that was said to be marginalized.
And he also has a good tie. He was also very instrumental to the way the APC merger came about. In fact, in some quarters, he's seen as the initiator or the drive behind the materialization of that whole process. So these are things that might count for him. But does he have the war chest to pull through? Is another matter. Of course, he enjoys the support of. He would enjoy the support of the president because they are quite close.
Close.
Having worked together in the ANPP in the ANPP days and all of that. But like it comes back to it again. Does he have the ties? Of course, he has the ties. Will get a lot. You will get good support from the north because at the point APC, the ANPP became more like a northern,
party.
northern thing, and he was able to manage and relate to them
Very
He's
well.
not seen as a desperate person. He's seen as a measured politician, somebody that can listen, who listens. He has the temperament for for the job. But it comes back to what the party wants and how do they strategize to face an article.
Well, Silas, we've heard what you believe. The analysis based on the people APC might be looking at now as aspirants to be given the ticket. But when it comes to acceptability for Nigerians in the election, general election proper, will Tinubu's war chest count? Will it now be that it has to do with the fact that you are grounded because you have been an old party member? Would that count in a country where Nigerians are now looking for a leader they can trust? Look at Osibanjo. Osibanjo has a kind of acceptability among Nigerians because in the absence of Buhari, he had always pilot the affairs of the country as in acting capacity, and Nigeria will say, Osibanjo, you are too much. That is another thing that might work out for the vice. So at least you just shed a little light on that. And then another thing again is we know that in Nigeria, the ruling party is always very powerful. Even if the APC give it to a southerner, APC can still use power of incumbency to defeat Atiku. Many people are angry with Atiku in the south for usurping the PDP presidency for now. So what do you think about this? Just briefly, so that we no time.
The thing that worked for Buhari all those while was he had this air of integrity. That may have been reflected now, but he had the air of integrity that he carried. If you look at the APC, for instance, Tinubu with a grown band does not have that integrity. There's always a question about everything about him, his origin, his education, his source of wealth, his policies in Lagos, and his control of it, even using that control of APC, of the party in his party to push to promote self-interest ahead of everything. His wife in the Senate had to remove one very sound, doctor who was in the Senate there. So Mamora, very intelligent young man. But to put his wife down, I never had a wife say anything tangible in the Senate.
Even presented a bill.
So all that is there. So whenever you talk to you know this guy, you can get anything from him. It's not the integrity is not there, and a lot of questions about his wife, source of wealth, and all this one. Then and other things about him. Then Bologna doesn't have a scandal around him. He's a quiet type. I don't know whether he has the crowd, the political crowd so much. But to say something, if the party chooses a candidate, when you couldn't make a masquerade among big people, couldn't choose the weakest and make him a masquerade. Make him a masquerade, it become bigger than everybody.
Everybody, of course.
All the people that made him now become subjects.
Yes.
So if he picks anybody and put the comment structure around him, the party structure around him, the person will become
larger than life.
That's how it's going to be. It is. Atibajo has acceptability across the board. He's not known for scandals and con, and then like you said, times has acted. The countries noticed some improvement under him, and people feel that they can tap into this improvement if he's allowed to go sway. The only problem I have with him, he has not been a chief of executive in any capacity for long. He was a commissioner, right? But to manage a state, a country, but people like him. So whoever APC picks, it's important that the joker the Buhari can do to do the legacy for himself. That people say this man, will wipe out a lot of disease, officiality that accuse him of. He's also a candidate from the southeast. and rally support, all the support around him, he can beat an Atiku. Atiku is not so popular. Look, you talk about the chunk of votes that very hard. It's not the same thing with Atiku. Atiku under as AC as president. Is it AC or ACN? What do you get? You didn't get anywhere. He ran again.
But you know they have to share those votes among 3 northern candidates.
Even when he did last time, a lot of the votes came for people who were supporting P2P on the ticket. And Peter has now left. So where is he going to get from the south? Even the north, they don't trust him too much. Sorry. They like him, but not the way they like Buhari. He doesn't have that kind of
court-like flow
flowing. So what I see that if APC doesn't do a good job of picking a good candidate, and PDP is with Atiku, there may be a third force that will come on the ballot and give them a run for their money.
Thank you very much. Well, that is the much we can take for the big issue of the day. Thank you for keeping tab with us. And of course, the permutations for 2023 presidency is still ongoing. And of course, as events unfold in the coming weeks, we will actually begin to see the direction and to become clear to us. For now, I would like to say a big thank you to our in-house analysts for analyzing the big issue the way it should be. Thank you, our viewers. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Do have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.